Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we have another piercing related video for you guys, and as you can tell by the title, this one is going to be a piercings pet peeves video. I don't think I've ever done a video like this on my channel before, but today we are going to be doing the pet peeves of a tongue piercing. So I'm going to take you in depth. I have had my tongue pierced for about 5-6 years now, so I've had a lot of quality time with it, and there are some things that drive me just a little bit bonkers about it. So we're going to kind of go through my little list that I've made up. If you guys have anything that you would like to add to this list as well, be sure to do so down in the comments. So let's go ahead and get started with the pet peeves of a tongue piercing. So the very first one that I want to hit on, which I'm sure all of you who have your tongue pierced can relate to, is the healing process. Probably the tongue piercing is probably the most difficult healing process that you'll go through with a piercing, just because it is one that is in your mouth. It is in a muscle that you use quite frequently, obviously because we talk all the time, whether it be at work or at home or to yourself or to your dogs or whatever. We're always talking, and your tongue plays a very big part in you talking. So when you get your tongue pierced, it's a very different experience. If any of you guys are interested, way back in the day when I did get my tongue pierced, I did do like experience videos from day one all the way up to a week, to me changing it, to a month. By far the healing process for me was very difficult. It was very trying at times. There was one point where I almost ended up taking it out because I thought I had nerve damage. Which didn't happen, by the way, but I thought I did. So the healing process is just something that you have to really get used to, especially the day that you do get it done. You do have a very long bar, and you do swell a lot, and eating is not very easy. You kind of have to eat like a lot of liquidy type things like applesauce or drink soup or something like that. So the healing process is definitely a little bit of a pet peeve, especially since it can last. Probably the worst part of it is a good week or so that you kind of have to get used to it, which kind of sucks. I think the most difficult thing for me when I was having my healing process was probably dealing with getting used to it being in my mouth, which is kind of funny because nowadays when I take my tongue piercing out for any reason, I feel like I don't know how to talk without it, which is very strange. Because for those of you who don't have your tongue pierced, when you talk it feels normal to you, whereas I have had my tongue pierced for so long now that it feels funny if I like eat, drink, or talk without it. So eventually you do get used to it and you don't even notice it anymore. But I think that's just the hardest part, is just trying to get used to having like a large bar in your mouth. And I remember a lot of people always try to tell me that my tongue piercing gave me a lisp. I've never had a lisp. This is how I talk. This is how I've always talked, even when I didn't have my tongue pierced. Obviously, when you do get it pierced in the first few days, like, you kind of have to learn how to re-talk with it. So yeah, probably the healing process is the biggest pet peeve of having a tongue piercing, but I promise you, once the healing process is over, it is totally worth it, and you will absolutely love your tongue piercing, because I know I do. It is one of my favorites, and I can see myself with it for a very long time, so it is definitely worth it. The next one, I kind of already hit on this, but that is having long bars. During the healing process, when you do get your tongue pierced, they do give you a very significantly long bar. The reason for that is to accommodate for swelling, because obviously you are shoving a needle through a muscle, and it is a foreign object in your body. So the natural thing that your body is going to do is your body is going to swell, and that definitely does happen with the tongue piercing, at least for me. Some people swell more than others. Some people don't swell at all. It really just kind of all depends on the person. But for me, definitely, I needed that long bar because the swelling was so intense for me. I think it was maybe like day 2 or 3 and 5 were the worst parts for swelling for me, but the long bar is definitely a little bit of a nuisance, especially once it does to finally start to heal and the swelling does go down and you just have this long bar flopping around in your mouth. And that kind of goes along with the other thing I wanted to touch on, is biting it. When you first get used to having your tongue pierced, there will be a few instances where you will accidentally bite on it, which can be a little bit iffy because you don't want to chip a tooth, but it definitely does happen. I can't think of anyone who has had their tongue pierced who hasn't accidentally bit their tongue ring at least once in their life. Like, it's just something that kind of happens, and you do eventually get used to it, especially after like the first 2 weeks, and you can put a shorter bar in and you find one that fits really good for you. Then you don't bite on it anymore. I haven't bitten my tongue ring in probably like 3-4 years, so you do definitely become accustomed to it. You don't necessarily feel it all the time, but it's not like flopping around your mouth and you don't like constantly feel it in there, you know. If yours is doing that, I would recommend going to a piercer and having them size you for a good tongue ring, because at least in my opinion, I'm not like a professional or anything, but I feel like having your tongue pierced, it should not be flopping around your mouth. You should have it pretty secure in your tongue. Like, it shouldn't be obviously too tight, but you don't want it too loose to the point where you could risk biting on a metal ball and chipping a tooth and having a very expensive trip to the dentist. So that's one thing that I would recommend if your tongue ring is very long, or if you're talking and you can see the bar. It might be a little bit too big for you. Then again, some people like that, but that would just be something that I would do personally if I had that problem. Now, another thing that I hate about having a tongue piercing that I personally think is a pet peeve is bubblegum and blowing bubbles. Now, this isn't for everybody. It is for me, but not everybody. When I got my tongue pierced, my tongue web is very long. So my tongue web kind of comes up towards the front of my tongue more than others, I would say. So my tongue piercing is pierced closer to the tip of my tongue, as you can see there. So when it comes to blowing bubbles with bubblegum, I don't know about you guys, but that is like one of my favorite things to do. Like, what's the point of chewing bubblegum if you can't blow a damn bubble? That's my outlook on things, and ever since I've had my tongue pierced, it's very, very difficult for me to blow a bubble. So, let me show you. I gotta get it nice and chewy. My jaw hurts. This is my favorite bubblegum, by the way. It's the Hubba Bubba bubblegum, and it's in the watermelon flavor. That is my favorite. I think I got it chewed up enough to the point where I can blow a bubble. I'm so sorry if this is disgusting to any of you, by the way. Like, I'm sorry, but I have to prove a point, okay? See what I mean? It pops it. Get it chewed up again. Okay, so maybe you can blow bubbles, but it takes a lot of practice. Like, as you guys saw, it took me quite a while to get like a decent bubble. Like, otherwise my tongue ring, like when I go to like prepare to blow a bubble, like my tongue ring just like completely rips it. So, and then the very last pet peeve that I have about a tongue ring, which this really isn't a pet peeve because it is something that you would kind of get used to. But I notice whenever I have to take my tongue ring out for any reason, whether like I'm, you know, cleaning it or something like that, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to me with this, and if you can't, I want you to try it if you have your tongue pierced. One thing that kind of like gets me weirded out is when I have to take my tongue ring out for any reason, whether that be I'm like cleaning it or at the dentist getting x-rays or whatever. I notice when I go to take a drink without my tongue piercing in, it is the craziest feeling I have ever felt in my entire life. And if you have a tongue ring, I want you to try it. I want you to take your tongue ring out, and I want you to go take a drink of something. Tell me that doesn't feel weird, because for me it feels so freaking weird. It's like I completely forgot how to swallow water when I don't have my tongue ring in. Now, like I said, that's not really a pet peeve. It's not something that gets in the way of my life, because obviously if I took my tongue ring out and left it out, like I would obviously adapt to not having it in anymore. But I'm telling you, like the first few times like you take a drink without your tongue ring after having it for a while, like it is the most bizarre feeling in the entire world. Like, it just feels funny. It's like you don't know how to like eat, you don't know how to talk, you don't know how to drink without it in. Like, I'm just so used to having it there that I can't do anything without it. Like, I want you guys to try it, and if you do try it, let me know in the comments. Am I the only one who thinks that's weird? Like, do you guys think that's weird? I think it feels weird, okay? Let me know. Okay guys, and that is everything that I have for my tongue piercing pet peeves video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm sorry it wasn't anything like super informative, but it's just something that I've been kind of keeping a list of for a while that I thought I would make a video on. Just kind of sharing my pet peeves about having my tongue pierced. really I haven't really experienced any horrible things with my tongue ring. Like, I don't have any issues with it. One thing, if any of you are going to ask, no, I have never swallowed a tongue piercing ball. I have never swallowed an entire tongue ring before. I am very much someone who makes sure that my balls are tight. I always make sure everything is nice and secured on there so nothing goes anywhere. Make sure that if you do have piercings, especially in your mouth or lip piercings or whatever, make sure that you are tightening them really, really well, because you don't want to accidentally swallow it and have it possibly go down the wrong hole and end up in a lung. You don't want that. If any of you can relate, or if any of you have anything to add to this video, make sure you go down and put it down in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Make sure to go down and also subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. But as always, I will see you guys very soon in my next one. I love you guys. Bye!